Welcome back, everyone. It is Monday, February 28th. I hope all of you are having a wonderful day. We are just about to enter the month of March. Things are looking pretty good in crypto, but I'm not going to sell you guys a pipe dream. I don't think we are going to rally up to 50 or 60K anytime soon. Bitcoin is holding above 41K past few hours. Ethereum has been rallying a bit as well, back above 2,800. If BNB nearing that $400 price point. Luna has been rallying a bit as well. I've actually been taking profits on that crypto as of late to add to my cash reserves. That way, if we do go down, see some price volatility to the downside, I won't be crying because I got cash on the side, and hopefully you do too. It is Monday, so give you a recap of the earnings for this week in Bitcoin and Ethereum. Over on Celsius, got some Bitcoin staked on there, and I earned roughly $5.75 in free Bitcoin, and I've earned almost $4 worth of Ethereum the past week, so too shabby. But the main focus of today's video, you guys, is the idea behind Ukrainians and Russians potentially fleeing to Bitcoin. I'm going to get to that in a little bit. If we are still in that downtrend, you guys, we're nearing roughly 110 days of downside movement. If we do put in a lower low, I think the markets are pumping for some various reasons. I think a lot of Ukrainians and Russians are hopping over to Bitcoin, and they're seeing the use case for it. At least the macroeconomics and the macro climate around the world is kind of showing people the purpose and the use case of Bitcoin, why people fleet of Bitcoin and stuff like that. Again, going to get into that in a little bit more. Looking at the 1 minute chart for Bitcoin, Bitcoin did just break past this band of resistance right around 41,400 up to 41.7. Looks like the bears are driving the bulls back into this resistance band. We'll see if it holds. Personally, I think this little rally we're seeing may be short-lived. We might go up to like 42, 43K, but I think we're going to go back to mid 30Ks, retest those lines of support. If they don't hold, we'll go down to lower 30, like 32, 30K, maybe 28K, but we'll see. Time will tell. But look at this. The other day, Russia's ruble tanks almost 30% as sanctions over Ukraine, and it hit the Russian economy pretty hard. As you can see, G7 has warned of further steps if Russia did not cease its operation in Ukraine. Russia's ruble plunged nearly 30% against the dollar Monday after world powers imposed fresh, harsher sanctions on Moscow over its invasion of Ukraine. The ruble was indicated to be down 27% at 114.33 per dollar in offshore trading, according to Bloomberg News. This is pretty significant, you guys. I think this is going to create a shakeout for the Russian investors, at least in some of the Russian markets. If you're a high value individual with millions, if not billions of dollars in your bank account or whatever, and you were to see the ruble tank over 20 or nearly 30% in value in one single day because your country's leader decided to invade another country, whatever the reason may be, whether it's justified, unjustified, whatever it may be, it sends your currency tumbling. So Russian investors are going to be like, how do I hedge against this inflation that I'm seeing that's being caused by this invasion, this war, COVID and stuff like that? If you've noticed, COVID mysteriously vanished in the past week. Media won't talk about it. It's kind of interesting, kind of funny, kind of weird if you ask me, but nonetheless, Russian wealthy investors are going to be looking towards a hedge against inflation, and gold can be seized. If they were to like leave Russia, that gold could be seized. So Bitcoin, again, is a nice hedge against inflation that isn't going to be seized by all the authorities and stuff like that, like traditional cash and gold and stuff like that. So I'm pretty bullish on Bitcoin for that reason. The fall of the ruble, I think many other currencies are actually going to follow in the footsteps of the ruble. But look at this. We have talks about the West cutting some Russian banks off from SWIFT. Now, SWIFT is a means to do transactions around the globe. Reading into this a bit, excluding certain Russian banks from the SWIFT system used for trillions of dollars worth of transactions will hit the economy hard. And in the words of the White House, it will make the country rely on the telephone or fax machine to make payments. The telephone, I mean, again, I know they're talking about a landline, but this is a telephone too. It's a cell phone, but you can complete transactions with this. And I think this is the way of the future. I think this is the way things are going. This is only a slight exaggeration. There are workarounds to SWIFT, but none which are as efficient. When Iran was cut out of the system in 2012 as part of sanctions over its nuclear program, it lost 30% of its foreign trade. Picking certain Russian banks will ensure the sanctions have the maximum impact on Russia while preventing too much impact on Europe. European businesses will be able to continue to collect money owed and buy Russian energy. Personally, I don't really get the whole point of that. Like, I get the whole point about the EU, along with the US, needs oil, it needs energy and stuff, but the Russians are making a killing off of this invasion, if you haven't heard, because they basically cut off a lot of the gas that was flowing through, and that's basically created a supply and demand ordeal that we're so accustomed to with the last 2 years. The price of goods are just going through the roof, and Russia's making a killing off of these sanctions because less gas is being imported to the West, and since demand hasn't really gone down, that increases the cost of the gas. So you're paying more every barrel. I believe we hit $100 per barrel of oil, which is something we haven't seen since 2014, which was like last time Russia made a big move with invading Crimea and stuff like that. If you ask me, these two factors right here are going to strengthen the alliance and the connections that Russia has already made with countries like China, countries like Kazakhstan, India. A bunch of those countries in Asia are kind of partnered with Russia one way or another. For example, with China, Russia recently said that they're going to be supplying China with oil for the next 30 years. So that means China will be less dependent on the West for oil, be less dependent on the Middle East for oil. So we may see kind of like a Cold War kind of reemerge between Russia and China with their own separate set of economies, that could be doing business with countries like India. I don't know if you've been paying attention, but India's been kind of like neutral. They haven't really voted on the Security Council with the UN and stuff like that. Right on China's doorstep. And they realize if they side with the US, NATO, and a bunch of other Western countries, they may get stomped out. Certain types of trading between the two countries. I'm going to assume they produce a lot of food and stuff that maybe China is not able to produce because of late. I don't know if you've been paying attention, but China has been facing a lot of ecological problems, like a lot of floods, a lot of infrastructures crumbling, like a bunch of dams broke within the past year. So if they rely on India for those goods, if India were to be like, hey, we're going to side with the West on the whole Ukraine issue, it could spell trouble for them in the future. Another thing with this whole Russian banks being cut off from SWIFT, it's not happening to all the banks just yet. It's starting with the smaller banks, and then they're going to branch out to the bigger banks. But this is just making more and more people look for alternatives to traditional currency as we know it. And Bitcoin and cryptocurrency are certainly going to be two things that people are looking into, because again, with crypto, as long as you're not telling everyone and your mother, hey, I got Bitcoin on this flash drive, I'm gonna go to this country or whatever. Meanwhile, if you took like a suitcase of cash or a suitcase of gold bars or banks, and then they're gonna branch out to the bigger banks. But this is just making more and more people look for alternatives to traditional currency as we know it. And Bitcoin and cryptocurrency are certainly going to be two things that people are looking into, because again, with crypto, as long as you're not telling everyone and your mother, hey, I got Bitcoin on this flash drive, I'm gonna go to this country or whatever. Meanwhile, if you took like a suitcase of cash or a suitcase of gold bars, it might get confiscated through customs and stuff like that. Like, you got to worry about shady stuff like that happening. It does happen through customs. To act like it doesn't happen would be stupid, but nonetheless. And then one more thing with the Ukraine situation: Ukrainians are only allowed to withdraw, I believe, $3,000 equivalent of US dollars in their form of currency. It's not a whole lot, you guys. I mean, if I'm going to be frankly honest, most families here in the US, like a family of five, cannot really live off of 3,000 US dollars. I know the cost of living's a bit different there, but you catch my drift. It's not sustainable. $3,000 is gonna fly like that, especially when you're fleeing a country. A lot of these people are scrambling to get out of the country. Obviously, the men have been told to stay and fight for their country, but I think we're seeing a mounting case for Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies here over in Russia and Ukraine. Another thing that I want to point out is the Russian minister says we are working on digital one world, one currency for trade local media. So going back to the whole alliance thing between China and Russia, Russia did say they're going to supply them with oil for the next 30 years. Maybe a way that the Chinese can play ball with the Russians in this sense is, okay, we'll take your gas for the next 30 years. We'll gladly take it, but we'll help you with the digital yuan because we know where you guys are having some troubles with Swift and all that. So you know what? Let's figure out a digital currency. If we're not going to use the digital yuan, maybe we come up with one together that other countries that trade with us can use as a form of currency. Breaking, Russia's working to a one world digital currency for international trade, says Governor Minister. Hashtag Bitcoin, bro. I couldn't agree more. But again, it's most likely going to be some sort of CBDC like the digital yuan that China rolled out last year. One last thing, you guys. From Bloomberg, trading volumes in Bitcoin using the ruble have surged to the highest level since May. I wonder why. It's almost like the ruble lost almost 30% in one day. So I don't know. Personally, I think fiat is going to be a thing of the past. Don't know the timeline on that, but I'm going to guess somewhere between 20 and 50 years. It's going to be a while, you guys, till we get there, but it's happening. The dominoes are falling. More and more people are going to be looking into cryptocurrency and Bitcoin, not only in the countries of Ukraine and Russia, but just around the globe. More and more people are starting to see, oh shit, I'm only going to be able to take X amount of dollars from my bank account. That's if I can even get to the bank, that's if the banks don't close down entirely. Like, to think that any country is completely free of these issues or won't have issues with fiat currencies in the future is a bit ignorant, if you ask me. I mean, Charlie Munger, a billionaire who claims to have never bought Bitcoin, he thinks it's stupid. He says that fiat currencies are going to die. Billionaires typically have an idea or two about where future is headed, and they know about a lot of this information way before we do, and they act accordingly. So again, you guys, I hope you guys are enjoying this little rally that we're having. If you bought in the past 2 weeks, not to sound like a broken record, but please take profits, because I don't think this rally is going up to 50K. I don't think it's going to 60K. I don't think Bitcoin's going to put in a new all-time high here in the next few months, but I could be entirely wrong. No one knows this market. No one knows what it's going to do day to day. So just stick with your conviction. Consolidated bets are key. Take profits and wait for dips for buying opportunities. It's as simple as that. Again, if you enjoyed the stream and are looking forward to more like this, please like and subscribe over on YouTube. Hit the notification bell to be notified when I go live next. I will be going live tomorrow at 10 a.m. I'm probably going to do some interest changes over on Voyager, Celsius, and the other platforms for the month of March, because tomorrow is March 1st. So stay tuned for that. 10 a.m. tomorrow, Central Standard Time. I'll be here. Hope to see you then. Have a great day and invest wisely.